We are back with Why I Want, the series where we go over 2022 NHL draft eligible prospects and we talk about what they could be, how they are as players, and what we could expect from them at the draft. This episode is going over somebody that, honestly, I've been kind of avoiding for a little bit. Not necessarily because I'm scared of the topic, but because the player was injured for a good chunk of this year after the World Juniors, therefore the hype train for this guy wasn't really full steam ahead like it had been for some of these other prospects in the 2022 draft. But hey, the guy's back, he's no longer injured, and he's showing himself off in the best way possible. Today's episode of Why I Want is going over Czech defenseman David Jiricek. Jiricek is a really interesting one because he's a guy that, depending on who you ask, could be so good to the point that he could even crack the top 2 of this year's NHL draft. Is he the best defenseman in the draft? Many believe so. Does he have the highest ceiling amongst most of these players? Many believe so as well. David Jiricek is a 6'3", 190-pound right-handed defenseman hailing from Klatovy in Czechia. He's 18 years old, born in November of 2003, so he's actually got a really early birthday for this draft, making him one of the older guys in the draft. And if you take a look at his consolidated ranking, he's got an average rank of 7th overall. Elite Prospects has him at number 2, so they're really high on this guy. Futures Iterations has him at 11, TSN About Mackenzie has him at 7, there are a few other outlets here that have him in the 7, 11, 6-ish range, Smart Scouting has him at number 5, but the folks over on Elite Prospects, whose opinions I value greatly when they create articles and everything, they have Jiricek at number 2, so why exactly is that? Let's go over the body of work that he has had. He played for HC Plzeň in the Czechia League, the Extraliga in the Pro League over there, and he had 11 points in 29 games played. Now, the number isn't the best in the world, but it still is pretty good to see that he is in this league. In fact, he's been in this league ever since 2019-20 when the guy was 16 years old. Back when he was playing in lower levels of play in the Czechia leagues, he was a point-producing machine, 17 points in 24 games for the U20 version of the squad. Again, as a 16-year-old, he had 4 games played at the top league when he was this young. He also suited up for different versions of Team Czechia, or Team Czech Republic as it was called back then, where he was producing points and he was doing some pretty good things. This season, playing for Team Czechia at all the international tournaments, he's at 5 points in 12 games. Again, he is only 18, and he was playing against men in some of these competitions. Long story short, he was really good at a young age, which is why he was given the right to play in these higher levels of play earlier on. And now, after battling back from injuries sustained at the World Juniors, David Jiricek is back up and more ready than ever to take the next step into the NHL draft. How does he play? Well, he is a big right-handed defenseman, and if you take a look at some of the tape, the immediate thing that you will notice out of this guy is that he's so fluid on his skates. The number 1 report here on Elite Prospects says that skating is the name of the game for David Jiricek. He flows a fluid extension into a clean recovery to impart power and precision to his 4-way ability. He can walk the line and get a shot through traffic, or load up an absolute bomb of a one-timer. He's an extremely active defenseman, too. He doesn't hesitate when he can activate from the offensive blue line to become a threat from the high slot. And those are some of the things that I noticed when I watched the tape too, that David Jiricek is so fluid and he's so smart that in the offensive zone, he's really not afraid to just jump up whenever he feels is necessary, and he almost never puts his team in a bad position when he decides to do this. When he has the puck in the offensive zone, he's not afraid to just go around with it, he's not afraid to maybe make a move here and there to facilitate it to a more dangerous area of play. He moves the puck so nicely, and his skating complements his big frame very well, to the point where it's really difficult to get this guy off the puck. When he has it, he's just like, okay, what do I want to do with it? Okay, I'll send it to that guy in the corner, I'll find a way to free myself up with some space, there you go, puck's in the corner. He can also absolutely rip a shot, as the scouting reports did say. He's got a bomb of a one-timer, it goes in quite frequently, and when it comes to just his overall package as a hockey player, he does so much right that Craig Button on TSN 690 said that Jiricek is the type of defenseman that MORITZ SEIDER is, whom he thinks will win the Calder Trophy this year. MORITZ SEIDER is also a player that exhibits so many of these similar traits: fluid skating, offensive IQ that is just so well refined. Obviously, MORITZ SEIDER is not like a Cale Makar, he's not like a Ray Bourque or a Quinn Hughes, but he just does the right play. 99% of the time, and David Jiricek does those same things as well. Now, defensively, I will argue that SEIDER is just an absolute force out there, and he can really make life a living hell for anybody that is in his own zone with body checks and proper positioning, but David Jiricek, while he does lack the physical intensity that a SEIDER has right now, there's no doubt in my mind that over time, as Jiricek becomes older, because he is only 18 right now, there is an opportunity for him to develop those parts of his game a little bit more. But for what we're seeing right now, this guy is so strong and fluid with the puck that there are a lot of things to look forward to. In fact, here's Hottie Scouting on Twitter. He's a regional scout on Dobber, and he posted a few things about David Jiricek over the past few months. Take a look at this thread. It's talking about the Canadiens and who Michael over here wants the Habs to draft. Hottie chips in and says that Simon Nemec, the other player that could be dubbed the best D-man of the draft, is very, very close to David Jiricek based on his own viewings and talking with other scouts. Jiricek has an edge upside-wise, but Nemec is almost a guaranteed top 4. I'd take either one in that range. Michael replies, I haven't done an in-depth research on Jiricek yet. What about him really stands out, and what do you project for him moving forward? The raw skill, the skating, the aggression, and composure. He plays a man's game and has outstanding vision and deception. Reminds me a lot of MORITZ SEIDER. I still give Nemec the edge because his defensive game is almost flawless on top of being manipulative, but Jiricek is really good, according to Hottie from Dobber. There are 2 more scouting reports I wanted to go over here. This is what Itu Siltalen from Dobber says as well. Jiricek is a two-way defender with good toolkit, great size, and good physicality, solid point production upside. Not far from NHL ready, but since he missed the whole second half of the season, he definitely needs a season in the AHL or Europe before the NHL. And then, this is what Scott Wheeler said on The Athletic on February 14th. Jiricek is a strong and sturdy defender who plays a staunch man-to-man style, moves his feet well for his size, and thrives in transition with his ability to both close out on gaps with his length through neutral ice and lead a ton of rushes as a puck transporter. And it's another trait that you will notice from David Jiricek that he's really not afraid to jump in and join the rush, and when he has the puck on the rush, he usually makes some pretty good decisions with it. If there's a guy challenging him, he'll dangle by him. If there is just a clear area to the net, he's not afraid to make a pass to center it out for his teammates for a cross crease or shoot it himself should the opportunity arise. He just does so much right that it's tough to pinpoint one particular skill of his that stands out as a number one elite talent, you know? Like with Quinn Hughes, it's his pivot and his offensive IQ. With Cale Makar, it's his shot, it's his north-south foot speed. With Adam Fox, there's that offensive IQ and puck skills as well. Jiricek has so much going for him as a big, fluidly skating, offensively minded defenseman that this guy is probably the closest you're going to find in the draft to a top 2 ceiling defender. Where Simon Nemec has some problems with the way he plays being projectable to the NHL level because he does play in Slovakia and it's not really the strongest league out there. In my experience, the Czech Extraliga is just a tad better than the Slovak league, plus the fact that Jiricek just plays such a more physically mature and translatable game to North American ice that he does have a slight edge in my mind as to who is the best defenseman in this draft. Nemec has a really high ceiling too, it's just the projectability and the guaranteedness, I guess, of his profile is not in the same realm that David Jiricek's is, where he's already a big guy, he plays a man's game. He's playing for Team Czechia right now at the Worlds, I believe, and there was some tape going around of him absolutely doing some amazing things against Finland. Do yourself a favor and watch some of this David Jiricek tape. It was posted on the Twitter. I believe this game against Finland was during the exhibition stage, but do yourself a favor, watch some Jiricek clips. He is absolutely phenomenal, and anytime you see somebody who is so willing to get involved in the offense as Jiricek is, and in the way that he does it as well, it really paints a proper picture for long-term stability in the NHL by the time he makes the show and by the time he is comfortable enough to stick around. David Jiricek to me is a top 2 potential defender. He could even go second overall in this year's draft. I don't know. I mean, New Jersey has a lot of really good left-handed defenseman prospects, and their forward depth long-term is pretty solid as well. You could argue that David Jiricek is a guy they could use more than Logan Cooley. And in fact, if you're a best player available kind of person, then, I mean, David Jiricek is so good that if you take a guy like this second overall, and he pans out in that MORITZ SEIDER, Victor Hedman kind of role, I definitely don't think it would be a bad thing taking this guy as high as some people believe he could go. Talk to me in the comments all your thoughts about David Jiricek and him as a player. Where do you see him going the next few years? Who do you think should draft this guy? If your team is at the top of the NHL draft, let's say top 5, top 6, top 7, do you want to see David Jiricek get called out to your team? Now, I say it like that because I don't really think this guy will be available in any realistic realm outside of 7th or 8th overall, but there could be some variance between the Brad Lamberts and the Logan Cooleys and the Slavkovskys that Jiricek could fall a little bit. However, I don't think he's going to be available at 7, 8, 9-ish. He should be gone by then, and if he's not, then some team is going to go out there and take him while laughing to the bank. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. So, Trolls99. And bye.